All right, you're good.
Uneventful for you guys. Are you kidding me? Today's a wonderful day.
That's true for Yankees fans.
All right, welcome to the Eephus, episode 35, the 2017 trade deadline edition. We got a big time show today. Zach, I'm excited to talk about it. It wasn't the most exciting deadline. Our producer Graz disagrees, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Zach, first of all, how are you?
I'm good. The trade deadline, it was almost like Amazon Prime Day, where a lot of teams just bought like a lot of stuff they didn't need, but they just wanted to make a move. So there's some interesting trades out there today for sure.
That's an awesome analogy. Amazon Prime Day. That's a good one. But before we get into all the trades and all that shit, I want to start right off. I have an apology that needs to be made. Bryce Harper has been tearing it up all season long. He has not dropped off at all. If anything, he's picked up even more so since the All-Star break. I'll admit when I'm wrong. Bryce Harper, I expected him to drop off in like June, July, because last season that's exactly what happened. I think it's clear at this point that Harper wasn't healthy last year. He's had some issues with injuries throughout his career so far, but when he's healthy, he's proven me wrong. That guy is arguably the best in the league when everything is going right. And it does help that he has some protection in that Nationals lineup this year. But I'm going to admit when I'm wrong. I am sorry, Bryce Harper. You're killing it this season. And that's pretty much all I have to say. It had to be said. It's late July. He hasn't dropped off at all. Got to give an apology where it's due.
If we're going to do apologies, I want to throw a quick one out to Drew Pomeranz. Red Sox, this is from Red Sox Nation. We were so hard on you in the beginning because we thought the trade was bad, giving up Anderson Espinosa, and you had arm problems when you came over. But you've been a rock this season, so I just want to thank you, Drew Pomeranz, for sticking it out and not being similar to David Price with your attitude.
Yeah, there was a stretch. There was a period of time where if you compared Chris Sale and Drew Pomeranz's numbers. Of course, Chris Sale's had the superior season, but there was a stretch where if you compared the two numbers, you didn't have the names in front of you. You just had the numbers. Drew Pomeranz's numbers were right up there with Sale's, if not a little bit better. Again, Sale's had the better year, but Pomeranz has been far and above what any of us anticipated. For a while there, I think we all thought maybe the Red Sox lost that trade, giving up one of their top prospects, Espinosa, but now Espinosa got Tommy John surgery, so I guess tables turned on AJ Preller and the Padres.
Yeah, that trade looks better and better for the Red Sox, definitely.
Much better. So again, before we get into trades, we got favorite stories from the past week. So I'll start. Adrian Beltre reached a 30,000. Yeah, 3,000 3,000 hit number, plateau, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Beltre is the man. If there's anyone out there who doesn't like Beltre, I don't think there is, except maybe the umpire, who we're about to get to in a second. Then you're out of your mind. Beltre is not only a Hall of Fame player, he's a Hall of Fame person. He's hilarious. He's definitely the weirdest player in the league. But he is a walking highlight reel. So everything Beltre does turns to gold. One thing he did this past week is he was ejected for moving the on-deck circle. So the ump told him, get in the on-deck circle. So Beltre basically said, okay. He took the on-deck mat thing. It's the Rangers logo. That's the on-deck circle. He takes that and moves it to where he was already standing, and then he just stood on it. He was staring. He did what the ump asked, technically, but the ump didn't like it, threw him out of the game. No sense of humor. Zach, what do you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, just on Adrian Beltre, everything you said was spot on. And as Red Sox fans, I mean, we're looking for an answer at third base. We could have had Beltre for 7 to 8 years when we had him last. So I wish the Red Sox would have kept him. I mean, we could have saw 3,000 hopefully in Boston, but good for him. And that was hilarious. I mean, when you're at the point where you're almost at 3,000 hits, I think the umpire has to have some leniency and be like, this guy has earned it. It's almost like Kobe Bryant just getting the foul calls. Adrian Beltre should be able to do whatever he wants, on the end deck circle. And I can't believe the umpire. It was a blowout game too, if I remember correctly. So I don't know what the umpire was probably just cranky and wanted to go home, and he just took it out on Beltre.
Yeah, it's just a classic case of the umpire wanting to be the story. Back on Beltre for a second with the Red Sox. I used to have a Beltre shirt, Red Sox shirt. Don't know where that thing went. I wish I still had it. Don't think it would fit me anymore, but I'd probably still wear it because Beltre's that much of the man. So that's what I got on Beltre. That was my favorite story.
Yeah, definitely. Props for him. Definitely a Hall of Famer now for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Someone that's not a Hall of Famer but plays third base, Todd Frazier. Obviously, he's
Certainly
on the
not a
Yankees
Hall
now.
of Famer.
Yeah, so he's a New Jersey kid, Tom's River. Grew up loving the Yankees, was his favorite team. So he got traded to the Yankees, obviously. First at bat at Yankee Stadium, hits into a triple play, which is just so perfect. Like Todd Frazier, everyone thought Todd Frazier was going to be this like transcendental player for the Reds, and he turned out to just be a consummate dud year after year. And the fact that he did it in front of like 300 of his hometown fans, just hits into a triple play. I mean, you can't write a better script than that.
It's fucking hilarious. Graz, what do you got on Frazier, your guy now? Now that you're a Yankee fan, what do you got on Frazier so far?
Here's the thing about Frazier you guys got to focus on. I've been talking about this ever since he was in the home run derby, like 2-3 years ago with the Reds. He has a little league swing that somehow made it all the way to the major leagues. And me and my friend talk about this all the time. He throws his entire body through the zone and sweeps like, they tell you to like clean the table off when you swing. Yep. And that's what he does every time. So that's why he hits like 200. But when you throw, a 185-pound frame into a baseball, he'll hit 30 home runs for you.
That's true. Did he hit a broken bat home run like 4 years ago or something? Like he hit some ridiculous home run. I don't know how it went out, but it's just Todd Frazier has always had the power. That's never been a question mark. It's the guy's going to get you 200 batting average. He's going to hover around the Mendoza line. You get what you get.
You're actually right,
it's really funny because
you're like right on this. Like I was watching him over the weekend. He swings the same at a slider as he does at a fastball. It's just like the same swing, no matter what the pitch is.
It's literally like, he looks like sometimes in Little League when those like good 12-year-olds start throwing curveballs and you're like trying to hit it and you're like, why is the ball moving, not going straight? He looks like that in the major leagues, and it's incredible that he made it all the way through, all of the minor leagues without ever being, able to adjust to a pitch. It's outrageous. But I love him. I'm a big fan.
Power guy.
He's an adorable person.
Power guy who can hit into triple plays. I mean, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Perfect for the Yankees.
Yeah, absolutely. For those listening, that was producer Gross. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, A, do so. And B, he's our new producer, so he's going to be chiming in every now and then with some takes, mostly Yankee stuff because he is a Yankee fan, which gives us a nice dynamic, us being Red Sox fans. And also that is Groz. Get to know him a little bit. So we'll move on to the Nationals. I was watching this as it was happening because it was on MLB Network, and this was fucking hilarious. They hit approximately 3,000 home runs in a game against the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't have like the score or anything like that in front of me, but I do know they went back to back to back to back. Then some guy popped out. Sucks for that guy. I'd be pissed if I was that guy. And then the next batter after that hit a home run. So that was 5 of their home runs. I believe they hit 8 or 9 in the game. So the Nationals, they're a force to be reckoned with. I think they have some serious competition in that National League right now. But one thing is for sure, that offense is not fucking around.
Yeah. I mean, when Wilmer Defoe, who like I don't even know who that is, is the first one to hit a home run, then I think it went Harper, Zimmerman, and then a break, and then Rendon. I mean, that's unreal. But I don't like after that happened, everyone's like, oh, the Nats have the best offense in the major leagues. Like, no doubt. It's like, okay,
so reactionary.
Let's slow our roll a little bit. Like, they hit all those home runs versus like some middling starter for the Brewers. Let's not act like they're like the big red machine yet.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, believe me, I love the Nationals offense, but that's a product of, Twitter and all that shit where everything's happening. You see it happening live on your feed, and you're like, oh my God, the Nationals hit 8 home runs today. They have the best offense. That's your reaction right away. You don't think the Dodgers exist. Oh, the Cubs exist. But yeah, no, either way, the Nationals put on an absolute show. It was fun to watch. So that was definitely worth talking about today. We'll move on here to a couple young guys, Rafael Devers, Yohan Moncada. Speaking of home runs, they hit their first career home runs this past week on the same day. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I think those two guys, though, are going in different directions in terms of production. Rafael Devers has been tearing the cover off the ball for the Red Sox. I think he only has 2 home runs, but when he makes contact, he hits the ball very, very hard. And as for Moncada, I think he's hitting right around like 120 or something. So not great. You've been right on Moncada so far, that he hasn't had plate discipline. He hasn't been all that great for the White Sox so far.
This is what we call a tease in the radio business. You'll be hearing about Moncada later in the show. Let's just leave it at that. But Devers has been unreal. I mean, he's 20 years old, right? And he hit one out over the monster this weekend versus the Royals. That was like big time. That impressed me when anyone can do that. I love his swing. He's better defensively than I thought he would have been. People were talking about like he's terrible defensively. He's been fine in my mind. So I think Devers might have a little more upside right now. He's younger than Moncada. He's hitting better. We'll see how the trend continues.
Totally. I don't want to go back to being all reactionary like we were just talking about with the Nationals. So I do want to see a larger sample size with these two guys. But I think I said in the last show, and I'll say it again, I think Moncada has a successful career. But Devers is really impressing me to the point where I think he could actually end up being a superstar for the Red Sox. A superstar third baseman. He needs work on his defensive game, but offensively, he's 20 years old. He's hitting the ball opposite field out of the park like 400 and something feet. I mean, this guy is the real deal offensively. If he can tie it all together, he's a stud, no doubt about it. Sticking with the Red Sox here, more drama with this Eckersley versus Price stuff. I don't want to talk about it a ton because we beat it to death last week, but it's worth mentioning. So Dustin Pedroia, we talked about him last week about how, is he still a leader? Is there a leader in the Red Sox clubhouse? Is there a guy who's going to stand up in front of his teammates and say, figure it the fuck out. We're here to play baseball. I think we both agreed last week that Pedroia really isn't that guy. If anything, he's one of the players stirring up all the drama. I still believe that. However, Pedroia came out. He faced the music. He talked to the media. He said he denies ever applauding Price on the plane. Whether I believe him, I don't know. But I will say this. Pedroia, he was right when he went in front of the media and he basically said, I'm right here. No one else is talking to you. I am. Here's what went down. We're going to focus on baseball from this point out. No other player did that. It was Pedroia who stepped up, so I do give him credit there. On that note, David Price, now on the disabled list. He was placed in the DL with his elbow flared up a little bit. And it caused some controversy because he was supposed to start in Fenway the same night that the report came out that he was hurt again. So, Zach, I want your take on this, both the Pedroia part and the Price being placed in the DL as all this drama is sort of unfolding.
Yeah, I'm sick of this team. There's no leadership. Pedroia, many think he's a leader, but he almost is like the ringleader of a lot of this stuff. He was kind of kept in check on previous championship teams by guys like Ortiz, Mike Lowell, Veritek, people like that. But now that it's his team, he kind of gets this whole almighty attitude. He's got like a Napoleonic complex. He's always been like, he puts everything on his shoulder, every criticism. Like, that's what he's kind of put out to this team. It's like us against the world. And it's like, no, we're all on the same team here. We all want the Red Sox to be successful. Right. It's not you versus us. I don't even think Eckersley's comments were that blasphemous at Eduardo.
He said yuck.
Yeah.
He just said yuck. We were all saying it.
That's the thing to me. That's the thing that sticks out in the story. It's like what Eckersley said wasn't even that harsh, and the Red Sox are blowing it out of proportion. So that to me means they're so sensitive and thin-skinned. Like we said last week, this team's very hateable, and you can start to see it affect them on the field. They seem very lackadaisical and lethargic, like it's almost weighing them down a little bit, and they know the fans are sort of outraged at this Eckersley controversy.
I got one question for you. So we have the 2004 World Series. We have the 2007 World Series. We have the 2013 World Series under our belts as Red Sox fans. Out of those three, which was the least satisfying? I think we both agree it was 2007, right?
Probably 2007, just because we were a horse that year, and we were probably never not going to lose to anyone.
Right. So, and it was the Rockies. They swept. It just was very anticlimactic the way everything turned out. So I would say 2007 was the worst. Well, not the worst. I mean, World Series, no matter what's awesome. But out of those three, the least satisfying.
For sure.
Now, say they win in 2017. Now you have those 4 World Series. They're like, I almost would be like, I think I would react like, oh, nice, they won. I don't care. Like, if this team wins it all, they're the least likable Red Sox team in the past, since I've been alive, 24 years. They are the most insufferable team by a long shot. They're all little sensitive babies, with the exception of like a select few. I would say those few include maybe like Andrew Benintendi. I don't think Dustin Pedroia is sensitive. I just think he's not as much of a leader as everyone says he is. Guy works his ass off, so I'm going to throw Pedroia in that mix as well. Bogart sucks, but he's not a sensitive little crybaby. Guys like that, whatever. I like them. But most of the guys on this roster are just absolute losers. So I would say in that case that 2017 would have to be hypothetically the least satisfying World Series team, maybe of all time for the Red Sox.
It's like, I don't even care if they're sensitive, but like show that you have a bit of edge. Show that you have like a little bit of competition. I just don't even see that. Obviously they're trying 100%, but there's no guy like, let's go, guys. Let's like We're on like a couple game losing streak. Let's get this shit going the right way. And there's no guy doing that, which is even more frustrating than this whole controversy, to be honest.
I heard an interesting little note on Boston Sports Talk Radio, which is a plague. No one should listen to it, but I was. And David Price, someone called in and they said, look, you don't think there's a leader on this team? Here's the problem. David Price is the leader. David Price is the guy telling everyone what to do, what to say. David Price has taken over as the leader in the clubhouse, and that doesn't bode well for this Boston team at all.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
More drama in baseball. This is over in the National League with the Cardinals. Some bad blood. I don't know how crazy it really is. Maybe it's just, if this probably happens all the time behind closed doors, but now the fact that it's all over social media in the public, I guess it makes it kind of a big deal. Yadier Molina, Mike Matheny, these two guys have a little disagreement going on. So Matheny talked to the media and said that he thinks Yadier Molina, who's getting up there with age, but still is one of the most talented catchers in the league, he's basically saying that Yadier Molina doesn't have much left in the tank. And Yadier Molina being like, oh, no, I'm still pretty good, Mike. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He posted on Instagram saying, I don't know the exact caption. Again, I don't have this in front of me, but he pretty much goes and says everything that Matheny said is wrong. I train all the time. I train to play like over 170 games in a year. My body's ready. There's a reason I'm still in the league, whatever. And I'm on Molina's side here. I think it's kind of out of line for a coach to tell the media that his catcher, a guy who's been there longer than he has, is running out of gas.
Yeah, I just felt like it was weird just because it was the Cardinals. They're usually one of the most on-point organizations in terms of communication between the players and the managers. So I just thought it was weird, especially Matheny being a catcher. You would have thought he would have had a good connection with Molina. So the fact that they were on the same level here is a bit concerning. Not that the Cardinals are making the playoffs this year, just the thought that Molina is definitely the de facto leader of that team. So there may be like a little bit of a scission happening between the players and the managers on the Cardinals from this.
Definitely interesting. Definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, when you're not winning like you used to, I think tempers sort of flare a little bit behind the scenes. I think there's some frustration there with Molina, some frustration with Molina. Molina's used to winning every single year. I mean, the Cardinals were the class of the NL Central not too long ago. So now that they're sort of underdogs, now you're seeing there's some frustration in that clubhouse for sure. One guy who's definitely not frustrated right now is Kyle Farmer, Dodgers. He was called up on Friday, I believe, from AAA. He gets the opportunity to shine on Sunday. First major league at bat. He hits a walk-off double. That's one hell of a way to start off your career in the major leagues. Now, obviously, we don't know how long he's going to stay up in the majors for, but one thing is for sure, it was a moment that he's never going to forget. I love seeing moments like this because just imagining that you're in this person's shoes, that's the biggest moment of that kid's life. So I've always loved these stories. So Kyle Farmer, props to him, walk-off double against the Giants, no less, against the rival of the Dodgers. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, I was saying this to my brother the other day. They have these guys come up from the minors and then they just like become stars. Like Bellinger, Chris Taylor, all these guys, you never hear about them, and then they come up and they do something big. So I think
it's that type of season.
Yeah,
that type of season for the Dodgers.
Everything's going right for them, and
they're 74 and 31.
This guy's like a journeyman catcher kind of, and he comes up and just hits a walk-off double. Great piece of hitting. Is just another sort of sign that this might be the Dodgers' year.
Yeah, absolutely. Graz, you had something to say there.
I want to ask you guys a question. You were talking about how the Red Sox are unlikable. And this is going along with the Dodgers, is there anyone for you guys on the Dodgers that is unlikable? I think they're the exact opposite of the Red Sox, where every single person on that team, unless you're a Mets fan and mad about Justin Turner hitting 365, but other than that, and he looks like a wild one like in Game of Thrones, so I'm in on everyone on the Dodgers. And Bellinger, like his cute swing, and he doesn't know anything about pop culture because he's only 21.
That's
and like they keep bringing up.
That's the dumbest thing they just know who Seinfeld is. Like, I think he's straight up lying, but that's for another.
Yeah,
day.
I hate.
But like, is there honestly?
I hate Puig. So
Zach hates Yasiel Puig. I don't hate Yasiel Puig, but I could see how a lot of other people would hate him. People who don't like the way he goes about himself. Other than Puig, I agree with you, Graz. I don't know if there's anyone else on this team. I'm trying to think of guys like starting pitchers, maybe some guys in the bullpen. There's no one. Kenley Jansen, another one of the most likable players in the game. Justin Turner, one of the most likable players in the game. Bellinger, you name it. Maybe Chase Utley. A lot of people don't like Chase Utley because of his slide. I mean, that's one thing, but I can't think of any other guys. You're right. The Dodgers are one of the more likable teams, and if the Red Sox aren't going to win it this season, it would be nice to see the Dodgers actually win it for once and not choke in the NLCS. So we'll move on here to the moment everyone's been waiting for, our little trade deadline edition of Grade That Trade. We got a lot of trades in front of us right now. We're going to go over all the I'm not going to say they're all major trades, but all the notable trades of the past week since last Monday. So let's just start with the Red Sox. Eduardo Nunez, we'll start there. What are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously he's performed great since the trade. Definitely fills a need for the Red Sox. I mean, it gives them backup if Devers starts, going down the tubes at third. He's played a bit of second, played a bit of DH. He's given them some much-needed power. I'm going to give the trade an A- right now. It was a great pickup. Didn't have to give up too much either.
I'm going to give it a B+. I think if you're the Red Sox, you're a serious contender this season. You're trying – I mean, you're going for a World Series. You're not going just to make it in the postseason like last year and exit like ASAP.
Yeah.
I think you need more than Nunez, and you need more than the guy we're going to talk about next, even though I'm in love with the trade that we're about to talk about next. But with Nunez, it just felt like the Red Sox needed something a little bit more. That's why I'm not giving them an A, but I do understand the move. I mean, it fills a need. He's a utility guy, not the best defensive player in the world, not the best offensive player in the world, but he's a well-balanced player. And the Red Sox, it was better than nothing. And I do think he's going to help down the stretch. He's not the type of guy who's going to put you over the edge, but I am going to give the Red Sox a B+ for this acquisition. Another Red Sox acquisition is Addison Reed. This happened today. Today's Monday when we're recording. So it happened earlier, right before the trade deadline. Addison Reed, a reliever from the New York Mets. Zach, thoughts?
I mean, did you see Matt Barnes in that Royals game on Sunday? I mean, we definitely need like an eighth. We definitely need an eighth inning guy. I think Reed fills that. He's done a bit of closing for the Mets, which is always good to have. I'm going to give it an A. I think it was just what they needed. But I'll say this. I mean, we wouldn't have made this trade if Thornburg, Carson Smith, any of those guys were just not duds. So yeah. I think they needed it, but I'm not sure it's in the right context, really.
So I'm giving it an A+. They gave away virtually nothing for this guy. They gave away 3 minor league relievers who might have a little bit of upside, but you're giving up 3 minor league relievers for a proven reliever, a guy who's going to help you hopefully get far this season. That's what the Red Sox need right now. They need that 8th inning guy in front of Kimbrel, that shutdown 8-9 inning. That's where they're struggling. Again, like you mentioned in that game against the Royals, they looked hopeless. When it went down to the 8th inning, it was like they didn't have an answer. So now they have Addison Reed for the 8th. They got Joe Kelly when he comes back. Hopefully he's at full strength. You got Carson Smith hopefully coming back. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that he comes back. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but reports have shown so far that he's making progress. So if you can get a healthy Carson Smith, healthy Joe Kelly leading up to Addison Reed and then Craig Kimbrel, that's pretty nice. I will enjoy watching that. Whereas as a Red Sox fan, seeing Matt Barnes come in there in a high-pressure situation, the 8th in the postseason, would have me shitting myself. So I'm glad that we're not going to have to get to that point. So that's the Red Sox. Those were their 2 main moves. They didn't do anything else. The Rockies, our Rockies, they had 2 decent-sized moves, I would say. One of them more than the other. First of all, they got Pat Neshek, a reliever they so desperately needed. You have Greg Holland. I think he went on paternity leave. So now Pat Neshek immediately enters as a guy who's going to fill that void. Not only fill that void, but he's going to help the Rockies now that they're making a run for the postseason. Their bullpen it looks outstanding on paper. I want to say that. They probably could have used one more piece, but I'm a big fan of what the Rockies are doing this season. I'll grade them first. I'm going to give this Pat Neshek acquisition an A-.
Yeah, definitely the bullpen art they need. When you go Neshek, Holland at the end, I think that's solid. They actually went to Washington this weekend and took 3 out of 4, I believe, from the Nationals, which was huge. Yep. It kind of made them. I mean, that could be a second-round matchup in the playoffs. So a good preview there. They're starting to get starting pitching. So I'm going to give the Neshek trade an A- because, I mean, they needed a reliever. Their relievers they have is just a bag of dirt right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they had Mike Dunn. They had Greg Holland. Now they have Neshek. They had Ottavino, who is underperforming recently. But if all those guys can perform up to their, I guess, expectations, the Rockies are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the postseason. I mean, Neshek's having a career year. The guy's 36, 37 years old. So I don't know if he's going to be able to hold it all together in the postseason, but if he's anything like he has been all season long, I think I'm going to give this an A-. I think it was a good trade for the Rockies. This trade by the Rockies, though, is a little weird. I'll say that. I don't hate it. It's just a weird acquisition. The Rockies got Jonathan Lucroy from the Rangers, who's having a very down season offensively by his standards. I think he's hitting like 240 with 4 home runs this year. When I saw that, I kind of gasped because I'm not used to Lucroy being that much of a non-factor offensively. Good defensive catcher, add some depth to this Rockies team. But he's not – it was just strange. It was strange. I'm going to give it a B.
I actually really like this move. I think he'll hit better when he's in Colorado. I just think Texas was a bad fit for him. Yeah. He was like splitting time with Chirinos. He was injured. I think with the Rockies, they don't really have a set catcher right now. They split between like Nate Walters and a couple other guys. So I think he'll come right into the lineup. And I mean, if he can be anything like he was on the Brewers, I mean, the Rockies lineup just got a bit deeper. So I don't think they had to give up a lot. So I'm going to give it a B+.
Okay. So I gave that a B. We'll move on to the Rays here. The Tampa Bay Rays, they got Lucas Duda from the Mets. Add a little bit of pop in that Rays lineup. We've discussed this before. The Rays are outperforming our expectations by a long shot this season. And they're actually, you can say they're contenders in the wild card race. So I like this move by the Rays. Lucas Duda, I think he already has 2 home runs for the Rays in the past week since they acquired him. So it's not like a move that's going to put them over the edge. Like, oh my God, the Rays just got Lucas Duda. The Rays are officially World Series contenders. But for what the move was, I liked it. I'll give it a B+.
Yeah, I like the Duda move. They've kind of turned into like a home run hitting team this year. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. So they need to turn it around pretty quickly if they want to stay in the wild card race. So I'll give it a B+ too. But if they start sort of falling out of the race, these trades are kind of wasted. They almost would have been better sort of maybe fire sailing some of them guys and rebuilding.
Yep, they had a tough time in that Yankees series, which has a lot to do with that 3-7 in the last 10. So the fact that the Rays struggled against the Yankees, I think that speaks volumes to, who the superior team in the AL East is. We still got a long way to go. We have 2 full months of baseball to go, so we'll see exactly what happens. But right now, I'm giving it a B+. I think Lucas Duda provides even more pop in this lineup than they already had. So moving on to their second acquisition, Cishek from the Mariners, reliever, bolstered that bullpen a little bit. They traded, I think, Erasmo Ramirez for him, if I'm not mistaken. So they upgraded. I will say this. I don't think this move, again, because you're trading Erasmo Ramirez for Cishek. It's not like this crazy. You're not trading some scrub for some stud. You're kind of having two guys who are, kind of close on the same level. Cishek is great reliever, don't get me wrong, but he's not. We were just talking about Addison Reed earlier. He's not a guy who's going to make an impact on the Rays the same way that Addison Reed is going to make an impact on the Red Sox. So that's the way I look at that. I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a B too. Cishek's a mass guy, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He has a similar windup to Nishek, so I think they're sort of both in the Brad Ziegler mold of like sidearm specialists, but he was actually good in the Yankees series, so I think he'll pitch better than he did with the Mariners, and he'll be a good bullpen arm for the Rays moving forward.
And we got one more AL East team here. Actually, we got another one later, but we got the Orioles. Jeremy Hellickson. What kind of deal was this? They gave up Hyun-Soo Kim, however you say his name, and then a couple other promising guys for Jeremy Hellickson. Baltimore Orioles aren't even going to compete this year. Why are they buying Jeremy Hellickson? I'm giving this an F. I don't understand this deal at all.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a C just because the Orioles are out of it. I actually think Kim's a good player, and like you said, they gave up some other good players, but Hellickson is just average to me. Like, do you remember John Burkett on the Red Sox?
Yeah.
He's just like, I call middling pitchers like John Burkett's. Like, they're literally 5 ERA, like 8-9 record, nothing great. Like, that's Jeremy Hellickson.
I remember being like 10 years old or however old I was when Burkett was on the team and just hating the guy because the guy got shelled every time he took the mound. Like, I was so little and I had so much hatred for this pitcher who I barely even knew because I was that little. But, like, I just remember every time he took the mound, that was when I was, like, my fanhood was beginning. And I'm like, this guy sucks. And the fact that I still remember him based off that speaks all you need to know about John Burkett. And, yeah, Jeremy Hellickson too, I guess. So now the New York Mets, they got A.J. Ramos from the Marlins. I don't really know. He's like the Addison Reed replacement. I don't really know about this deal either. Ramos is a great reliever, don't get me wrong. Like I was saying about Cishek, I don't really get this move. Do you get this move? I don't really get this move.
No. I especially don't get it because they traded him within the division. Like the Marlins traded him within the division, which makes it even weirder. I give the trade like a NA just because I don't even know what they're doing.
Weird trade. I'm gonna give it like a C- because again, he's a good reliever. It's just what the fuck is this deal? You just had Addison Reed and now you trade him and then you just get his little replacement, AJ Reed. Like, I don't know. And in the division, it's just a weird trade. Nationals get Howie Kendrick. Now, this guy's by no means is like a stud player anymore. I think we both know that, but he is still a big name because he's a veteran. He's a guy who's been in the league for a long time, wants a ring. I think he's going to provide – this might be a weird take, but I think he's going to provide some leadership on this Nationals team who's led by a lot of – the Nationals are led by a lot of young up-and-coming players. Bryce Harper, Trey Turner. I know Daniel Murphy's not like up-and-coming or anything, but he's still a stud who I don't really consider like a leader. I think Howie Kendrick can go right into this Nationals clubhouse and lead a team. I think he needed that too because he was kind of stuck on a shitty team before this. So, yeah, I'm going to give this trade a B. I know because he's not a great player, but they still got a guy who's going to – he's going to make some sort of impact as they head into the playoffs.
I'm going to give it a B+ just because the plus is for his intangibles. I mean, Howie Kendrick's been through the wars, whether with the Angels, the Dodgers. Like, he's been in tight playoff games. The Nationals, I mean, every time they get to the playoffs, they all have tight butthole syndrome, and they get really tight and they can't win. So I think Kendrick will bring some leadership, and he'll loosen everyone up, and hopefully provide. He does have a clutch gene, so he does provide clutch hits. So maybe he'll come up in a pinch hit in the playoffs and knock one in for the Nats.
Definitely can see that happening. Another Nats acquisition is Kinsler from the Twins. They got another bullpen arm. The Nationals bullpen went from being a laughingstock to a serious problem for opposing teams come postseason time. Kinsler's the real deal. I'm high on this guy. He had an outstanding season for the Twins. Now he goes to the Nationals, and as long as he doesn't blow it and turn into a dud, I think the Nationals are – I was saying this before about their offense. Now it's their bullpen that looks really nice on paper, at least. I'm going to give this an A.
Yeah, I'll give it a B+. Kinsler, yeah, he's definitely got good numbers with the Twins this year. They obviously got Doolittle and Madsen before, so they're sort of banking on those three guys to sort of come in and just mesh really quickly, which I don't think it always happens that way with bullpens. So that kind of scares me that they're just kind of revamping their bullpen at this part of the season, but they did get talented guys. So props to them for going out and actually making the deals and being aggressive.
All right, now we move on to the Yankees. Graz,
Guys.
Oh, perfect timing. Okay.
I have to cut you off before you get to the Yankees. I did some research, and by that I mean I texted my friend from high school. Jeremy Hellickson was once traded for a friend of mine who was a year above me in high school when he got traded to Arizona. So I've always been a big Jeremy Hellickson guy, but I wanted to fact check that it was Andrew Velasquez who was traded. So when he got traded to Arizona from Tampa Bay, one of the prospects is a good friend of mine.
Graz,
just wanted to throw that out there. So I'm a big Hellickson guy because now, I knew the name that got traded for. It was weird.
Graz, this is why you're on the squad, because you can just pipe in with things like this, like the fact that your buddy was in the Hellickson trade of a few years ago. Like that's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we move on to the Yankees. Graz, I'm bringing you in on this as our resident Yankee fan. Let's start with Jaime Garcia. What the fuck? Like, Twins, what are you doing? Acquiring Jaime Garcia. The Twins are still very much in the wild card conversation. I know they're probably not going to, but they should have considered themselves buyers at this deadline. And I thought they were by buying Jaime Garcia. Not like a game changer by any means, but a guy who can at least help that rotation out and lead them to maybe the playoffs if everything goes right. But instead, the Yankees swoop in like a day later and grab Jaime Garcia from the Twins. It makes absolutely no sense to me, but Graz, what do you got on it?
What I have on it is you should have heard New York radio today when I was driving home from work when they said that since they got Sonny Gray, they were thinking of trading Jaime Garcia again this week, which would have been even more ridiculous.
I'm picturing Garcia packing up his bags and then just like unpacking, like once he gets there, and then be like, all right, Jaime, you've been traded to New York.
It's like the Simpsons gif where he like walks in the house, puts on his hat, and then puts on the hat and walks out.
Exactly like that.
Twins wise, I have no idea why they were interested. I think it has to do with the fact that they were playing well when they acquired them, and then they realized that, oh wait, we should just sell. Maybe the season isn't going well after they haven't played well after. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it's just still so weird. Like that just means they jumped the gun early and they were like, "Oops," and then they're like, "All right, sorry, Jaime, see you later, man." Just so strange. That's the Twins for you, though. You can never expect the Twins to have it all figured out. So
they're a fun organization. I have a lot of good friends from Minnesota. They're a cute organization. I describe them. They're cute.
Graz friends all over baseball, all over all of Minnesota, involved in Hellickson trades. They're everywhere. Be on the lookout.
Graz, what's your grade?
Grade Yankees wise, it's a solid like C+, B- because what is it called? I can't think of his name. Montgomery is on an innings limit, and Severino is going to be on it too. So when they have the September call-ups, it's perfect because they're going to use him to pitch those innings when they're, instead of Severino and Montgomery.
And he adds some depth come postseason time. I'm actually surprised you didn't go higher with your grade. I'm going to give it a B. Again, he's not a game changer at all. He can be. He's shown flashes of brilliance with the Cardinals, but I don't think he's that guy anymore. But he is a guy who's going to give you some depth, much needed depth. The Yankees have made so many moves in the past month. They got that guy's name who I can't pronounce, Canley, Robertson, obviously. They got Frazier. They got fucking a ton of guys that are going to help propel this team through the postseason probably. And I think Garcia is a depth guy. I don't think he's, again, a guy who's going to change everything, change this entire landscape. But I'm going to go B. I think this is a good move for the Yankees. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll give it a B. I mean, Garcia is just a classic. Like, he'll take the ball every fifth day and give you 6 innings and give up like 4 runs. Yeah. And that's what the Yankees need. I mean, that's what most teams need as like their 4th or 5th starter.
He's probably going to be headed to the bullpen anyways come the postseason. So if having a long relief guy like Garcia out of the bullpen could prove to be pretty nice as long as he doesn't shit his pants. A guy who shit his pants last year but has kind of figured it out this year is Sonny Gray. The Yankees got him at this deadline on today, Monday. So Sonny Gray to the Yankees. Graz, thoughts?
The Sonny Gray acquisition is the biggest acquisition of talent since the famed 2009 beautiful trade. What is it called? Acquisitions that they made free agency wise. For the first time, they have someone that can actually pitch more than 5 innings in their rotation and not scare the pants off of me. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about it in that respect.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
He's just what it comes down to is it's a good move because they gave up a lot, but they gave up a lot in the way where you get someone that's a low price and you still have him for 3 pennant races this year and then 2 years after. And I'm all part of the theory because I'm a New York exceptionalist that as soon as someone pitches for the Yankees, they're going to want to re-sign if they're pitching well. They're like, oh, okay. I like this. I'm going to stay here.
Grade? So, what's your grade?
Got to be at least an A.
Okay. At least an A.
At least.
It's got to be at least an A. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give it at least an A too.
Got to be.
This was the move that Red Sox fans dreaded that the Yankees would make. It makes them, in my mind, officially the class of the AL East. It's hard. That's a hard sentence for me to spit out, but sometimes you got to speak the truth. I think the Yankees, this will seal the deal. This will propel them above the Red Sox, above the Rays. I think the Yankees are going to be AL East champs. The Red Sox will be playing for the wild card. I think with all this drama in Red Sox land, I think all this drama with them, the fact that their offense can't figure it out, the fact that the bullpen and the starting rotation are so inconsistent means that the Yankees are going to pull away in this division race. I might eat my words in a couple months, but that's the way it at least looks like right now when you compare the Yankees deadline in their month of July to the Red Sox deadline in their month of July. So that's my take on it, and I give it an A.
I'll give it a B. I think they gave up a lot for Gray, but he is controllable, as Graz was saying. I'm not sold on Sonny Gray because, as you mentioned, Justin, he was really bad last year. He's definitely had a bounce-back year, but I'm just going to forewarn him. This is the AL East, bruh. This isn't the AL West. So you better pull up your big boy pants, all right?
That's an excellent point. I think the AL East is a whole new stage. The fact that he's on the Yankees is going to make a run for the postseason. You're not in Oakland anymore, man. You're not on this shitty. You're not in the basement of the AL West. You're in the top of the AL East, arguably the class of the MLB. Now, will Sonny Gray be able to handle the pressure? That's what the question becomes. I say yes, but the question is there.
Sonny Gray, this is my go-to comment that I researched. He already pitched in the playoffs back remember when Oakland was trying to be cute for a little while?
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. In the game that he pitched in the ALDS, he left the game winning against Justin Verlander, his Cy Young / MVP year.
That's a great accomplishment.
I know that's one example, but like when you get someone like this and you're excited about it, you point to that, you're like, oh, he could do it. Obviously. He might not be able to, but that signs are pointing like, oh, this guy can pitch in New York. Just like I think Zach Greinke couldn't have pitched in New York.
That's a good point. We're also talking about a guy who finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting in 2015. That's worth mentioning. Yes, he had a terrible 2016, but we're looking at potential here, and Sonny Gray has all the potential in the world. If he's anything like what he can be, this Yankees team is going to thrive. They're going to reap the benefits of it. So we'll see how these next few months pan out. I love the Sonny Gray acquisition for the A's. I mean, for the Yankees. The A's got a good haul though back, so I will say that. The Royals, they got Melky Cabrera, one of my least favorite players in the league. I don't know why I hate Melky Cabrera so much. It's sort of unwarranted. Might have something to do with the fact that he did roids, even though I don't actually care that he did roids. Maybe it's just something deep down that I don't really know. But anyways, the Royals got him. The guy can still play. I don't really think this was a huge acquisition like we talked about with Jaime Garcia, but the Melky Cabrera can still play. And the Royals, suddenly they're a contender. So I like this acquisition. Anytime you can buy talent like this for a low price, I think it's a good acquisition. So I'll give it a B.
Yeah, and didn't Melky play with the Royals previously, I think he was on.
He played. He did.
Yeah. So I'm all in on the Royals. I mean, watching this series versus the Red Sox over the weekend, I think the Royals are like leaps and bounds. If it was a one-game playoff, I know the Red Sox have Sale and the Royals have who knows who they'd start in their first game. I would take the Royals just because I think they have the pedigree and they're tough and they have guys with edge. And I think Melky Cabrera will add to that. He just wants to be in a pennant race. Like, he's been sort of out in Chicago with a team that hasn't done jack squat. So I think he'll definitely improve his numbers with the Royals. We'll see where he can fit in there, play a little DH. I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I think he's going to fit in well. The Royals, like you said, they're looking like a force. They seem to do this where they're so under the radar all year long. And then come July, it's like, uh-oh, the Royals, they look pretty good. And then come October, it's like, oh, shit, they're for real. So I think we're headed towards the same path, so to speak, this season. Now, with the Royals, they also got some relievers. Now, this is pretty funny to me. Matt Strom, who was like a 4-time dud of the week in the spring.
Yeah.
Headed to the Padres, right?
Yep, Padres.
Right? Yeah, so heading to the Padres along with Travis Wood and some other dude. And the Royals got in return Trevor Cahill, and then more Butcher. So relievers. So they're bolstering that bullpen, upgrading it a little bit. I actually used to think Travis Wood was really good, but apparently not. That's why taking the Royals. Those are some guys who I'm not like 100% sure how they are. I know Moore has like a 6 ERA this season, so not that great. But I will say that if the Royals are making this move, I expect that they think it's going to upgrade their bullpen. So the fact that their bullpen was upgraded and they got a guy like Melky Cabrera who could help you offensively, I'm giving both of these acquisitions a B.
Yeah, I think I like the Butcher, Mauer, and Cahill trade just because anytime you can get like 3 major league arms and you don't have to give up a ton, it's always huge. And especially when you can get rid of a dud like Strom, you have to do it. Like
4-time dud of the week, I think.
It seems like it's crazy. It seems like the Royals were listening to us. Like, this guy was one of their top prospects, and they just ship him out for like 3 middling like relievers on the Padres. So it's interesting how fall from grace Matt Strom's had.
Matt Strom was the laughing stock of this podcast back in April. So now we're in late July at the trade deadline, and he was moved. It just completes it. It's so funny. Now we're moving on to the Cubs here, the defending champs. This was a big one. Justin Wilson. They got some bullpen help acquiring Justin Wilson, and they got some depth behind the plate with Alex Avila. Now, what's funny about this trade is that the Tigers GM is Alex Avila's father. So he just traded away his son to the Cubs. But the Cubs, they didn't really give up much, and they got a really good reliever and a veteran catcher, one of the better defensive catchers in the league. So I give this an A. Yeah,
I give it an A-. Avila, he's going to hit really well in Wrigley. He can go to any field. He's got pop. And then Justin Wilson, I mean, he's a shutdown lefty. He should be their 8th inning guy, and like lefties don't hit off him at all. So I think the Cubs only got stronger here with this deal. Yeah, Wilson and Davis is very, very legit. That'll be tough come postseason time. And by the way, I mean, we couldn't have been more wrong about the Brewers. The NL Central is going to the Cubs, right? Like, it's just at this point, I think we just have to believe that fact. Yeah, I think you'd have to say that.
especially with this trade. I mean, I think this trade, we talk about trades putting teams over the top. I think this is one of those trades. Justin Wilson is not to be fucked with. The Astros got Francisco Liriano. I think he's going to end up in the bullpen. Liriano, I can't wrap my head around this guy. It seems like 1 year he's brilliant, and the next he's a non-factor. So that inconsistency isn't going to give him the best grade, give the Astros the best grade here. I thought the Astros would make more of a splash at this deadline. They did not. So Francisco Liriano, not the guy who the Astros really needed. I think they needed more. I think the Astros are going to be very unpleasantly surprised the way things go in the postseason with the minimal help that they got at the deadline. I know the Astros are really good. I think they needed one or two more big pieces. Liriano is not that. I'm going to give them a C-.
Yeah, I'll give the Liriano deal a B because at least they made a move. But yeah, to your point, I think they would have made – I would have thought they made a bigger move. I mean, the Astros are in trouble starting pitching-wise. Keuchel, no guarantee he gets back to 100%. I mean, who's their second-best starter? McCullers has been bad. Yeah. I mean, McHugh just got back from injury. Charlie Morton. I mean, these guys are not aces. So if they get in a one-game sort of thing, they're in trouble just because if Keuchel's not on his game, I think they could lose to a lot of teams.
Now, tell me if I'm wrong here. Like, this might be way off. The Astros this season remind me of the Rangers when they won 90-plus games that season. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
I think 2 years ago.
So the Rangers won like 95 games. Those two teams on paper are pretty similar. You got the stacked offense. You got the pitching, the rotation that has the two guys at the front you could probably rely on, and the rest, you don't know how it's going to go. The bullpen, it's all right. Decent. You got Ken Giles in the back end of it for the Astros. You had Sam Dyson on the Rangers, who was good at the time. These two teams, both AL West teams, obviously, pretty similar, and we all know how it ended up with the Rangers. I think we're headed towards the same path with the Astros here. Now, I will say this. The Astros' talent offensively is far superior to what the Rangers – I mean, the Rangers were talented offensively, and I still consider the Astros superior offensively. So maybe the offense puts them over the edge. I don't think so. I think you got to depend on pitching more than you depend on offense in the postseason. That's why the Astros ultimately will fail, and it'll be because they didn't get a guy like Sonny Gray. They didn't get a guy like Yu Darvish. They didn't get a guy like Justin Verlander at this deadline like they should have. So I'm going to give it a C-. Liriano's great. Like, he's fine if they did something else along with it, but they didn't. So C- is what I'm giving them. The Indians. Now, again, I think this is a team that needed to do a little bit more, but they acquired Joe Smith from the Blue Jays, a solid arm out of the bullpen. So they needed another arm out of the bullpen. It's not what it was last season when they made a run for the World Series. So Joe Smith, he's a submariner. He has his on days and his off days like pretty much every other submariner in the league, but I think it was a decent acquisition. I'll give it a C. I think it's a lot like the Liriano trade.
Yeah, I'll give it a B-. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even know who Joe Smith was. I guess he's dating some like celebrity.
I was going to get to that. He's dating Allie LaForce, the sideline reporter.
Oh, okay.
She's very attractive. Very good at her job, too. I want to note that so people don't think I'm like sexist. She's also very hot, so there's that. She has that little bonus.
She might be the best sideline reporter, like male or female, in sports. Like, she's wicked good. Her husband, I don't know much about. I mean, the Indians' bullpen to me is already stacked, but anytime you can get another arm, that's always a positive as well.
I'll say this. When I found out Allie LaForce was, I don't know if she's married to him or not or just dating him, but when I found out Allie LaForce was with some Joe Smith guy on the Toronto Blue Jays, submarine arm, decent reliever, I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? How did those two meet? I was very interested in that. Like, why is she not with the like superstar athlete? She's with Joe Smith. I thought that was funny. Another reliever. The Diamondbacks got David Hernandez. I didn't know who this guy was before he was traded. Let's just call a spade. He was on the Angels. He was traded to the Diamondbacks. I will say this, though, just looking at stats alone, because that's all we have to go off of, the Diamondbacks needed a guy like this. Because the Diamondbacks, we talked about this last week, their bullpen, not anything to write home about before this. So it helps. I'll give it a B+. I think it seems good, right? So I'll give it a B+.
Yeah, I'll give it a B+ as well, just because I don't know this guy, but anytime the Diamondbacks can get arms, they need bullpen arms. That's the weakest part of their team right now. They actually should be in the market for sort of a utility infielder because Chris Owings.
They got Adam Rosales.
And then they did?
Yeah.
Okay, Ketel Marte is on. His mom died, so he's gonna be gone. So they got Adam Rosales, who's the fastest home run trotter in the major leagues,
and a former Dud of the Week.
Yeah,
for his offensive performances. But the guy is a decent defender. He hustles, so he is a decent fill-in for the D-backs, given all that's going on in that infield right now. But he is a former Dud of the Week. It's worth noting. Guy can trot around the bases like no one else, though. So that's the Diamondbacks. Let's move on. We're almost done here. Let's move on to the Pirates. They got how do you fucking say this guy's first name? I don't want to butcher it.
Joaquin Benoit.
I almost said Joakim, so almost, but Joaquin Benoit. Now, like, this is a reliever. This is a big name reliever. The Pirates needed some help. They parted ways with Tony Watson, so which we're gonna get to in a second. So Benoit just kind of comes in and fills that role. But the Pirates, they're not really. I don't think they're gonna go anywhere this year. So I think this is almost like what you said earlier in NA. Like, I don't give a fuck about the fact that the Pirates got Benoit. I'll give it a B-.
Yeah, I think the Pirates and the Twins were like in the same situation. It's like they don't know whether they want to be buyers or sellers, so they did a bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. That was strange. I didn't get this one either. It's almost an NA for me too. Lastly, this was the big one of the day. Well, I should say there's a couple big ones in here. It's the Dodgers. Now we'll start with Tony Cingrani. Very Italian.
Yeah.
So got him from the Reds, and this was more. The Dodgers can do no wrong, so I believe that this was a good acquisition for him. They're 74-31 this year for a reason. I like it. Gives them a little depth, but like whether they put him in the starting rotation or the bullpen, like it's a depth guy. Tony Cingrani, he's not an ace by any means. No one's saying, "Hey, look at him go! Look, it's Tony Cingrani trotting out to the mound." That's the guy. Like the Dodgers aren't putting Tony Cingrani on the mound, Game 7 of the World Series, and saying, "All right, kid, let's see what you got."
Yeah, definitely not.
But he is a guy who can make some sort of impact. So I don't know if we should just grade this alone or just grade the Dodgers in general, because we have 2 more Dodgers moves to talk about. So let's just grade the Dodgers based off their 3 moves here. They also got Tony Watson, who I just mentioned, former Pirate, a good bullpen arm. Now that they added another guy who can sort of bridge the gap between everyone else, any starting pitcher, and then Kenley Jansen. Anytime you can get a capable arm who can do that, that's a plus. And then you got the big one of the day, one that didn't happen until the 4 p.m. deadline. They got the big fish, Yu Darvish. Yu fucking Darvish is on the Dodgers as if everything couldn't have gone better for the Dodgers. They got Yu Darvish. A day after a no-name catcher gets a walk-off double on his first major league at-bat, they got Yu Darvish as a rental as they go and make a run for the inevitable World Series that's about to come to LA. I'm giving them an A, straight up. But you know what? No, I'm going to give them an A- because they could have gotten Zach Britton. But we're going to get to that in a second. But I'm going to give them an A- for these 3 acquisitions alone.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a B+. I think Darvish is actually pretty funny. I think 10 minutes before the deadline, he tweeted out a picture, him in front of his locker just saying, 10 minutes, like he knew almost he was going to get traded.
I'm still here. Like, it looks like I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. I'm not as high on Darvish as everyone else. He's had kind of a down year, so we'll see how he handles LA. I'm a big Tony Watson guy, and I'm an even bigger – it's Tony Watson, right?
Yes.
Tony Watson. Tony Cingrani and Tony Watson, 2 tones.
Yeah.
I like that. I actually think that's what they needed. They need, like you said, they need to bridge the gap between the starters and Kenley Jansen. They did that with this move. I'm a big Cingrani guy. I think he's got a lot of upside if you can figure out his mechanics. So I'll give the Dodgers a B+. Like you said, I think there was another move to be made for a reliever there to help out with Jansen at the end of the games.
If they got Zach Britton, the Dodgers would far and away be the big winners of this deadline. Britton, Cingrani, Darvish, and Watson. would have been unbelievable. But they got Watson, I think, because Zach Britton and Watson have been two very similar relievers this year, statistically. So I think what they did there is they were like, wow, we can get Watson for so much cheaper, and we're probably already going to make it deep into the postseason anyway. So there's no need to trade for Britton. But that being said, having like that setup, man, of Zach Britton, and then you got Kenley Jansen closing it out, that would be unbelievable. But they don't really need it, so it's not that big of a deal. Darvish, you got Kershaw out with an injury right now, and then he just comes right in. You got another ace now. So I really like that move for LA. Kershaw and Darvish at the top of that, along with Alex Wood, who's been very under the radar this season. Whew. Look out, National League. Look out. So that wraps up all the grade that trades. It was a very, I would say, underwhelming deadline. There was no trade that was really like, holy shit, we didn't see that coming. Yu Darvish, all along we expected to be traded. Sonny Gray, all along we expected to be traded. No real surprises. That being said, Zach, in your opinion, who was the big winner of the deadline?
It's kind of interesting how like no big bats moved. It was pretty much every
all
big
pitching.
move was pitching, which was interesting. Because I think some teams could have made some moves. I think the big winners here are the Nationals. I think getting Madsen, Doolittle early, getting Kinsler, getting Howie Kendrick. I think it's a good mix of they really filled their need. They needed bullpen, and they actually got bullpen. They got Howie Kendrick. They're on their road to get Trey Turner back, which will be like an acquisition when they get him back. So my big winner there is the Nats. From the American League, God, no one really made a move that's standing out to me. I'll probably go with the Royals just because they actually made a couple moves, and they went all in. They put their balls on the table and said, we're going to try to go for a World Series in the last year of a lot of their players' contracts, which I think took a lot of guts. So I'll go the Royals in the AL.
All right. I don't hate those picks, but I will say you're wrong. National League, I'm going to go with the Cubs. I think not too long ago, we all expected maybe the Cubs are going to be sellers at this deadline, and then they win a few games, and then they consider themselves buyers. They get Jose Quintana. They get Justin Wilson, a shutdown guy who's going to be in front of Wade Davis. Then, of course, we mentioned before that they got Alex Avila as a deaf guy catcher right behind Wilson Contreras. Love the Cubs in the National League. I also love the Nationals, what they did, but I have to be different, so I'm going to go with the Cubs. The American League, it's the Yankees. It's the Yankees in the American League. It's not like I like saying that. Graz is over there giggling.
Yes! I needed to chime in.
Graz is over there giggling. The Yankees are the winner in the American League, maybe in the majors. I love everything that they did. I mean, of course, I don't love Todd Frazier by any means, but when you put in the bullpen help along with Sonny Gray, a proven guy, the guy was, like I said, third place in Cy Young voting 2 years ago, and now you have Sonny Gray, a guy like that leading a team that's already capable of making it deep into the postseason in the first place. So,
I love how you said he came in third place in the Cy Young 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's not long ago. Why is that crazy?
I just think like Rick Porcello won the Cy Young last year, and he sucked.
Yeah, but Sonny Gray is the better pitcher. Like, if you look at the track record between the two pitchers, Sonny Gray has had a longer track record than Rick Porcello. Rick Porcello was atrocious. He's atrocious this season. Won the Cy Young last season. Was atrocious the season before that, and was wildly mediocre with every season with the Tigers, pretty much. So you're looking at two different pitchers. I wouldn't compare Sonny Gray to Rick Porcello. The Yankees, I think, maybe even bigger than the Sonny Gray acquisition was Canely. The more I hear about Canely, the more in love with Canely I am. Because if you have Canely and then you have Chapman and Betances are both right in that bullpen, it sucks. As a Red Sox fan, it sucks, but that's legit. So those are my two, the Cubs and the Yankees. Yours were Nationals and Royals. So
yep.
We'll see how – we're going to keep an eye on those four teams, see how everything pans out over these next couple months. Graz, I'm going to ask you – I already know your big winner was the Yankees. I want to know your National League big winner.
Oh, National League, I'm going to go different than you guys. I think the Dodgers won. Very simple. The Dodgers have to win the World Series this year. You've probably heard it on every sports thing. Have to win the World Series this year.
I'll say this, not to
make it.
Not to interrupt, Graz. If Kershaw blows it this year in the postseason, is he still the best pitcher in the league? Like, does he significantly drop off for you guys?
You're gonna. This is gonna be kind of a snake out of this comment. he's not going to be the best pitcher in the league, but he's going to still be the best pitcher of our lifetime. Like, and still go. Does that make sense?
That's
So
like
he's
almost a riddle.
not going to be the.
That's like a riddle.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a football example for you, Boston people. Tom Brady is the best quarterback probably of our lifetime and maybe ever. But Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football right now.
That's just blasphemy. That's blasphemy.
No, the most talent. Scherzer is the most talented and gives you the most innings and stretches out games and is in every game. Kershaw is the best talent we've ever seen and is up there with Sandy Koufax and Whitey Ford with the greatest, lefties of all time. But his constant back injuries and decisions to not be good in the – I know it's not a decision, but
hold on. All right,
feelings to not be good in the postseason.
Are you comparing Kershaw to Tom Brady?
Yeah, if he wins the World Series this year.
But Kershaw is like the consummate choker in baseball, and Tom Brady is the ultimate winner.
I guess. It doesn't work perfectly.
But then
you're
you
right.
got Scherzer.
Sometimes you're right, but
I do get what you're saying comparing Scherzer and Rodgers. I think
it's
that's
talent.
accurate.
It's not.
The quarterback has way more control in football than.
Yeah, it's not a good example. But the point is that
in the postseason,
quarterback
one game.
I get that. Believe me, I get that. But
the Royals won the World Series without starting pitching. They had James I blow every big game Shields.
Ventura and well, he's dead now. Rest in peace. But Ventura, yeah, and fucking Volquez were both outstanding in the postseason.
In the postseason, but they don't win you a World Series. They won the World Series because of their bullpen.
That's fair. I believe 100% because of their bullpen. I know, but the starting rotation, it wasn't there. They weren't chopped liver. They were still effective in the postseason.
You still have to be good.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I agree with that. I'm not about to compare like I think what you were trying to say is that Kershaw is the best player that we've ever seen, but he just doesn't get it done in the long run. And Rodgers is the guy. I mean, Scherzer's the guy who just gets it done no matter what, but he might not be as talented. Is that correct?
It's more like he's more like Peyton Manning when you think about it.
Now, what about
Peyton Manning's the best quarterback we've. Bumgarner, I guess, would be more like Tom Brady because all that guy does is win and does everything right. And if there's someone I want to go out for a nice adult beverage with, it's Madison Bumgarner. I have so many questions about him.
Bumgarner is Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. It's actually not a bad analogy there.
Just a couple less ticks of CTE, but it's close.
All right. So you do think the big winner in the American League is the Yankees? No bias. You think it's the Yankees?
It's the Yankees because of the years that Sonny Gray has.
Okay.
As well as the bullpen arms that are already making headlines. They're already good enough with that bullpen. So you just need a game to be 3-3 in the fifth inning, and you'll probably win. Also because their offense is only going to get better, too.
Thoughts on Canely and Robertson up to this point?
David Robertson has a place in my heart because he won a World Series with us, and his high socks are cute. But Canely, as I think I've said last week, Canely is an ox person, or as I like to call them, horse people, where I'm like, you definitely are a professional athlete. You have shoulders, that could stretch from first to third base, like one of those kind of people.
Right.
And he finally learned control. And the bullpen is so difficult because this is going to sound really weird. When you watched Mariano Rivera pitch when I grew up, every time the bullpen blows it, you get really upset because I'm so not used to the bullpen blowing it, every once in a while. And they only blow it once in a while. And this is the closest they've been to like having talent of that nature. Obviously not the same, but like they won't blow it that much anymore going down the stretch.
All right, we'll see, man. We'll see. So now we'll move on to two trades that we think should have happened but did not. Maybe it was like a big rumor that everyone believed was going to be inevitable. Maybe it's just a couple of guys you think are out of place on their current teams and needed to be moved and weren't. I'll start here. My first trade that I think should have happened. I'm packaging two guys here, so I'm from the same team. I know it would probably be two separate trades, but this is going to be my I'm cheating my way out of this. It's my one trade. Justin Verlander and Justin Upton. the two Justins on the Tigers. I think both of them should have been moved. I think if the Tigers are really going to sell at this deadline, they should have had a fire sale. I don't think they should have been soft with it and just parted ways with like Justin Wilson and Alex Avila. I think they should have went all the way. I don't see the Tigers competing for the foreseeable future. I know the AL Central is usually the division that's wide open. I just think the Tigers consider themselves sellers at this deadline, and then they kind of choked, to be honest. So though that's my first trade.
Yeah, they didn't even trade Iglesias, did they?
Right. No, they didn't.
Yeah, so I don't know what the Tigers are doing. Yeah, I don't know what the Tigers are doing. My first guy was Zach Kozart from the Reds.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm just looking at it from the Reds' perspective. Like, he's having a career year, so sell high on him. I think you could get like a pretty good haul, and he could have a down year in the upcoming years. And teams are always looking for a guy with a little bit of pop and a high average playing those middle infield positions. So I'm surprised Kozart didn't go. He would have been perfect for the Diamondbacks now with the injuries they have.
Roz, what do you think? Any trades that you think should have happened?
I'm shocked that Zach Britton is still an Oriole. I feel like someone would have, given up. They were looking for a lot, obviously, but Zach Britton was perfect. Was that last year or the year before? He was perfect in save opportunities. Yeah. So I'm shocked that a team didn't give up too much, like a Nationals or Dodgers, to get him. But I'm also not surprised that the Orioles kept him and trying to figure it out. I could see him being moved in the winter meetings.
I could see that too. I could see that with Verlander as well. I could see Verlander reassessing that whole situation. Verlander and the Tigers reassessing that whole situation, seeing what happens come wintertime. Same thing with Britton, like you just said. My second trade, I was going to say Britton, but I have a similar one here. Brad Hand, Padres. Brad Hand's been unbelievable this season for the Padres. And the Padres have no business holding on to a stud reliever right now. They need to sell, and get young guys on that team so they can actually build something for the future. Because that NL West, it's like everybody except the Padres and Giants right now. I mean, the Giants were in the mix up until this season, but now it's like everyone's up here, and then the Padres and Giants are just so far down here. So they needed to get rid of Brad Hand, a guy who just burst on the scene this season, and get some young talent. That's what I think. Yeah,
if you ever get a chance to see a Padres game, when Brad Hand closes it out, Don Orsillo, our old friend, says, "Talk to the hand," and it's one of the funniest, corniest things ever. But it's so Don Orsillo, and it's why we loved him.
Yeah, one of the cool things about Brad Hand is that you can just make a ton of hand jokes about him. That's probably one of his biggest upsides.
Yeah, big upside. I'll go two guys from the same team. They probably wouldn't have been packaged together, but Jed Lowry and Yonder Alonso. I actually think Alonso would have been perfect for the Red Sox. You could have had him play first, Hanley DH. He would have used the monster so well with his sort of opposite field stroke. Same with Lowry, obviously former Red Sox. I'm not sure he would have gone there, but those are some other bats that I thought would have gone just based on Oakland being out of it, and then they're pretty much sellers every year at this point. So I'm surprised they didn't trade Lowry or Yonder Alonso. I know the Yankees were talking about Alonso too.
Okay, that's a good one, Graz. You got another?
I got one more. This is coming from your New York Airways. Is the fact that Jay Bruce did not move from the Mets.
Okay.
They were trying to talk to people. He's been mashing this year, and it goes back to the fact that no one had any really bats on the move. It was mostly pitching, and I'm surprised because Jay Bruce has over 20 home runs this year. Guy's been hitting really well, and it's a complete rental too. That's probably why he didn't move, because he is a free agent at the end of this year.
The Mets stink.
Oh, the Mets. It's not even their fault. I feel so bad for all of those fans. Like, everyone got hurt. Every human being they had got hurt. Stuff.
And they're probably the most poorly run organization in baseball.
They did get, Wilpon did give some money to Madoff. So, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, that's a fact. So now we're going to move on to a topic here. We're still talking about trades, technically. We're done talking about MLB trades, but we're going to talk about something. Graz, this was your suggestion to talk about this one. Would you trade 50 years of your favorite teams? Now, this includes all favorite teams, not just baseball. All of your favorite teams winning championships, 50 years, to date your number one celebrity crush. I'm going to start with you, Zach. What do you think?
All right. My thing is, if I'm going to do this, I have to spend the rest of my life with this person. My celebrity crush.
Well, you have the choice to break up with them if it doesn't work.
Oh, I mean, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen, probably. My celebrity crush is, I've always been a big Jessica Biel guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not so much the bangs. You know how she has the bangs now? Not so much that, but when she pulls her hair back, that's the Jessica Biel I'm into. I think I would do it, and it would pain me because I'm such a sports fan. But the funny thing is, I enjoy just watching games, no matter if my teams are playing. And like you said, Justin, the Red Sox won the World Series this year. They're pretty hateable. I'd just be like, okay, that's, I guess, great for Boston.
Great.
You know, I'd probably go to the parade and stuff, but I don't really care. So if I had to trade marrying Jessica Biel or being with her for a while, for 50 years of my team's winning championships, I'd be fine as long as I'd still be able to watch the sport and still enjoy it. Because I do hate watching the Yankees a lot as well.
All right, so Zach's marrying Jessica Biel. Boston's not winning shit. Graz, what's going on with you? What do you have here?
See, it's a difficult question for me because, you know, I haven't seen every sport win like you guys lucked out in, but I would still take it too, and gotta be Jennifer Lawrence. Fun, enjoyable. It'd actually be a fun time instead of just dating a boring person. It'd be great. But that being said, if you told me that the Knicks would win a world championship and I could not see my family anymore, I would think about that too. So there's two sides to this coin.
All right, so far we have 2 out of the 3 of us taking the celebrity crush over the championships. My number, I can't, like, I've been sitting here the entire time trying to decide who my number 1 celebrity crush is. Now, I have 2 separate groups. I have like girls celebrity crushes that I'd actually just date, take out on a nice like fancy dinner, and then I have celebrity crushes who are just very, very good looking. Now, I'm going to go here with the fancy dinner route because we're talking about dating here. And I'm going to go with Allison Brie. She's awesome. She is one of the most underrated actresses out there right now. Her personality, she's very, like, bubbly. Or at least she seems it. She's just very, like, outgoing. She's pretty funny. Allison Brie, hit me up if you're listening to this. I would give up 50 years of Boston winning anything to date Allison Brie. So there's that. But I do want to note, Graz, when you made this suggestion for this topic, you mentioned Blake Lively as the example. Blake Lively is like gorgeous. So I think I would trade like 3,000 years to date her.
Everything usually in my life comes back to somehow Blake Lively. I don't know how. It's weird. We both like eating ice cream. We both have a crush on Ryan Reynolds too. Like, I totally get her. Me and her are kind of the same person. It's awkward.
Wow, yeah, Graz, I can see the resemblance. All right, so we all chose the same thing. We all chose different people, so that was actually pretty interesting. Nice little, another little trade segment there. But now we're gonna go on to our usual segments to wrap shit up here. I think this might end up being the longest episode we've ever done. So we'll start as always with our duds of the week. Zach, you start.
Yeah, so I teased it earlier in the show. I'm gonna get out on this before everyone else is. Yohan Moncada is my dud of the week, and I think he's a dud in general. I think the Red Sox got away with a caper getting Chris Sale for this guy. Obviously, Kopech was in the deal too, but he's hitting 130. He's got 14 strikeouts. He's pretty much striking out 2 times a game, which is never a good recipe. I know it's early for this guy. I know it's a small sample size, but I just don't like guys that have bad plate discipline, and he does. He swings at very bad pitches. He does have pop when he makes contact, but that's very few and far between based on his average. So I'll go Yohan Moncada as my dud of the week.
I'll be honest. I find it very interesting how down you are on Moncada. Like, I love it, though, because it provides, like, a nice, like, it's like a different take. It's not a take that's really out there right now. I think everybody is high on Moncada right now, and if this guy ends up being a dud for his career, I'm going to be like, this dude, my co-host, was on top of this before everyone else was. So it's kind of like our Rockies thing, too, where we were on top of that before everyone else was. Just classic Eephus being on top of trends before shit happens.
Definitely.
My dud of the week is a guy I didn't want to put him on it. I really didn't want to do it. Xander Bogaerts. I don't know what this guy's deal is, but he's just not I mean, he came into the league 4 years ago, and he was the next big thing. He's had flashes of being awesome for the Red Sox, but he had a pretty decent season last year. He's hitting 143 in the past week. He hasn't been the same since he got hit on the hand with a pitch. I don't know if he's going to bounce back from this injury and be 100%. I think his problems lately were a big reason why the Red Sox went out and got Eduardo Nunez as sort of a guy who can fill in the void at third base if needed, if Devers isn't available. Fill in the void for Pedroia because Pedroia's been out with injuries. Fill in the void for Bogarts because he just flat out sucks. So Bogarts is my dud of the week. He's hitting, like I said, 143, which is unacceptable for a starting shortstop who was supposed to be a stud.
I know. I'm watching the pregame here, and it's like, all right, we got the Indians coming to town. We might get swept, like the way they're playing right now.
Put it this way, Bogarts was mentioned a couple years ago, or even last year, with the likes of guys like Carlos Correa, Francisco Lindor, just in that top like echelon. How do you say that word? Echelon?
Echelon, yeah.
Echelon, yeah. All right. So we're learning that Justin the writer can't talk or say like big words. But Bogarts, he's in that like top 3 to top 5, or he was supposed to be shortstops, and he just hasn't been that at all. Not even close this season. So he's my dud of the week. So that's Bogarts. That's duds. We'll move on to Don't Call It a Comeback. I'll start with this one. It's my boy Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber is back in a big way for the Cubs when they needed him most. I think he's a big reason. The way he's excelled lately is a big reason why they were like, you know what? We're the goddamn Cubs. We're the defending champs. This is who we are. We got Schwarber back. We got everyone firing on all cylinders. Schwarber, he's hitting in the month of July. He's hitting 333 with a 940 OPS. Actually, no, he's hitting 250, but his OBP is 333, which is still decent. But his OPS is 940, which is no joke. How many home runs does he have? Well, glad you asked. He has 5 for the month of July. So I know that's not like crazy good, but he's starting to pick it up in the past week. And if he can keep up the pace he's been on in the past week, I think the Cubs are headed towards another special season, a special end of the season, I should say. Yeah,
I mean, the fact that Schwarber's turned it around it's been like an acquisition in it of itself for the Cubs. My Don't Call It a Comeback, Edwin Jackson. I mean, this guy came out of nowhere. He's pitching for the Nationals now. He's gotten 3 starts under his belt. He's 2-1 with a sub-4 ERA. I mean, the Nationals probably picked him up on a whim, and now he's one of their better starters other than Scherzer, Strasburg. I think it's a pleasant surprise, and I mean, you could have told me Edwin Jackson was out of the game, and I would have believed you. But now he's back. Good for him.
That is very good for him. I don't expect that to last at all. I mean, that guy's probably going to get like optioned, or I don't know what's going to happen with Edwin Jackson before the postseason starts, but he has been very good this past week. So that's a good pick. Now we'll move on lastly to When You're Hot, You're Hot. I'll start here. NL Player of the Week, Manuel Margot. He is a guy who I think everyone has high expectations before on the Padres, who don't get a ton of attention, and he's finally living up to them. He hit 500 this past week, 3 homers, 6 RBIs with a whopping 1464 OPS, just off the chart. So this guy's tearing the cover off the ball for the Padres right now. Definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, he was in the Kimbrel trade, right? He was a Red
Correct.
Sox, and then he got traded. So,
correct.
I mean, that's one guy who's sort of worked out, but we're kind of at a surplus of outfielders, so he didn't really have a spot. But good for him. My When You're Hot, You're Hot. I think this was someone's dud a couple weeks ago. Kevin Gausman of the Orioles.
Oh, yeah, he was mine. Yep.
He's turned it around. His last 2 starts, he was in Tampa Bay, at Texas, 2 tough places to pitch. He's 2-0, no earned runs in 14 innings, which is big, 16 strikeouts. I mean, this guy, everyone thought he was going to be the ace for the Orioles, high draft pick, highly touted prospect. His last 2 starts, he seemed to figure it out. So maybe the Orioles have found their ace moving forward, and they don't have to make a move for a great starting pitcher, because that's always been their issue. They've had the offense. They just have not had that number 1 starter. Chris Tillman wasn't it. That's for good goddamn sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. I'll tell you one thing. I didn't expect, if you asked me like a couple weeks ago if Kevin Gossman would be when you're hot at any point this year, I would have been like, come on, like really, no chance.
I know I guaranteed Sergio Romo was going to be my when you're hot, and it just didn't come to fruition. He gave up a bomb to one of the Yankees this weekend. It just didn't work out.
I'll say this though, Zach, you got one more week. You said in 2 weeks he'll be my when you're hot.
Okay.
So maybe Sergio Romo turns it around this week, and then it'll be a different story. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Sergio Romo this week for the Rays.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put him on my watch list.
Yeah, good idea. So that's the trade deadline episode. Again, it wasn't the craziest deadline. There were like no bats that were exchanged. It was mainly pitching. But either way, we had to cover it. We covered every single trade, every single notable trade anyway. And on that note, I think we'll end it there. As always, subscribe on iTunes. Leave a 5-star review. If it's funny, we'll read it on the show. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Eephus Pod, where we post our shows and we post highlights daily. So follow us on there. Thank you, producer Graz, for joining us. Graz, do you have any last words? You've had a hell of a show today. You're talking about Hellickson. How your friend was in the Hellickson trade. You're comparing yourself to Blake Lively. I mean, you got to have some way to send us off, right?
Here's the only way I'm going to send it off. It's a Sergio Romo. I went to the Yankees game on Thursday, the first Gardner walk-off. And in that game, Sergio Romo came in the game, and my friend turns to me after a couple tall boys and says, "Is that fucking Sergio Romo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's at Tampa Bay right now." And he's like, "Oh, I thought that guy was dead." And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, that was someone else. I think he's on the Royals." So that's how it ended.
That's a bad omen for Zach. By the way,
that's it. Yeah,
you got to get your friend to listen to the podcast, man. You would have known Sergio Romo was traded.
Dude, he's one of those kids that has a startup. You don't want to talk to those people; they're weird.
Hey, you talking about me, man? Like, what the fuck is what does that mean? No.
Oh, no. Like a fancy app startup, not one of these fun podcast startups.
Okay,
Trust me.
Good way to make up for it. That was a great send off, Graz. Thank you as always, Zach. Thank you. Zach, I'm assuming you don't have any last words and we can just end this fucking shit show of a podcast.
Sergio Romo is alive. Let's just leave it at that.
Sergio Romo very much alive. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.